This universe is made up of a conglomeration of material elements. And what Kapila does is he breaks these elements down. He takes apart the mechanics of the universe and says, look, that's what's there. He's teaching something called Samkhya Yoga. Samkhya means to count. So this world, this illusory matrix, whatever you want to call it, it's made up of 26 elements. There's nothing in the world apart from these 26 elements. Try and find something. You can't, because it doesn't exist. I know elements sounds a bit like an abstract subject, but elements are very important to us because our own body is made of elements. The ancient system of Ayurveda talks about the kind of combinations of different elements in our body, the different dualities of doshas, they call it. So it's like we have one dosha is earth and water, one dosha is fire and water, and the other dosha is air and ether. So there are 3 essential body types, and when one of those body types is out of balance, then disease will arise. If I have too much earth in my body and not enough water, then I get kidney stones. If I have too much water and not enough earth, then I'll get this kind of fluidy build up behind my skin. If I have too much water but not enough fire, then I get indigestion. If I have too much fire but not enough water, then I get ulcers. If I have too much air but not enough ether, then I get constipation. If I have too much ether but not enough air, then I get diarrhea. Lovely. I'm really glad that we talked about this today. So the 26 elements, bet you're wondering what they are. You have the 5 gross elements, which are earth, fire, air, water, air. Earth, fire, air, water, and ether. You have the 5 subtle elements, which is seeing, smelling, touching, tasting, hearing. 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, acquiring sound through the ears, acquiring vision through the eyes, acquiring smell through the nose, taste through the tongue, and touch through the skin. 5 organs for acting, speaking, working, traveling, generating, and evacuating. 4 subtle, invisible senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the contaminated consciousness. And 1 element that mixes it all together, which is time. Without the past, present, and future, nothing would mix around, nothing would come together or do anything. Everything would just be like chilling in the present moment, and nothing would happen. There's also 1 transcendental element, which is spirit, which is the super soul, or the omnipresent consciousness. And when they all combine, Captain Planet appears. So we can see everything as related to the Supreme. We can see time as the form of the Supreme. We can see the Supreme as the generating force behind all of these elements. The ages of time, they are cyclical. They move around in a circle. The universe gets destroyed and it gets created over and over and over again. Then the universe, like a giant golden egg called Hiranmaya, gets impregnated with billions upon billions of individual souls. I was one of those souls. You were one of those souls. There were other souls as well, but we're not quite sure where they went. And so the first manifestation of existence is called Vasudev, pure consciousness, serenity. It's the platform of peace where everything's kind of okay and nothing really bothers you. But from that platform, due to a moment of inattentiveness, we come to the platform of false ego, the false sense of self. And that then becomes the field of activities upon which I operate. The false ego has 3 kind of divisions. It kind of filters through 3 modes of nature, or controlling energies of nature, you could say, or modes. Just like you have 3 colors, by mixing them together, you get a whole palette of color. You can paint paintings and do all kinds of things with it. There's 3 energies that are said to be presiding over this universe, this creation. Those modes are goodness, or sattva, and that's characterized by serenity, by peacefulness, by positivity. Rajaguna is passion, and that's characterized by activity, impulsiveness. Tamaguna, that's characterized by dullness, sleepiness, insanity to some degree. So when ego is projected through these 3 filters, different results come out. When false ego is projected through goodness, the mind is produced. The mind is very simple, as things in goodness are. It just accepts things and rejects things. Sankalpa and Vikalpa. The simplicity of the mind is that it just has 2 functions: to think about things that it likes and to reject things that it does not like. And if you don't notice, you'll realize that this is what the mind is doing pretty much all day long. I do like this, I don't like that. I do like Marmite, don't like the government. I do like chocolate, don't like immigrants. It's kind of like an artist kind of going whimsically this way and that way. Reflecting on what we do and what we don't like generates a type of desire, type of passion. And that brings us to the next mode, which is the mode of passion. When the ego is projected through the mode of passion, the intelligence comes up, and the function of the intelligence is to work out how a particular result can be achieved, to show us the potential gain of that result. Kind of like a businessman who's very strategic and he likes to kind of figure out, oh yeah, if we do this, this and this, then we'll get that much profit. The intelligence is kind of like that. It kind of dictates to the mind what can be done in order to gain something. But you know, intelligence takes work, and intelligence after some time requires rest in order to function. That rest brings us to the next mode, which is the mode of sleepiness, the mode of dullness, a mode of darkness, the mode of ignorance. And from that situation we get what we know as sound, or ether. Sound conveys the idea of an object. It moves up and down in waves and creates air. Sound is hearing. Air is associated with the sense of touch, which is felt through the skin and the hairs of the body, which pick up the touch sensation. The friction within air that creates electricity or fire, the ability to see, and that's perceived through the eyes. You have the ability to set fire to things, you have the ability to evaporate things, and from that evaporation, of course, you have water. Water is liquidity, it quenches thirst, it makes things soft. From water, we have the ability to taste, and that is done through the tongue. From the sediment of water, next is earth. From earth, you get flowers, and you get the sense of fragrance and smell, and that's everything. The interesting thing is that as the evolution of these elements progresses, each progressive one, contains the elements of the previous one. So in ether, you only have sound, but then in air, you have sound and the ability to touch. You can kind of feel air, and when you do this, you can feel air. Then you have fire, which is the ability to hear, touch, and also see. You can see fire, it's got a form. With water, you can hear it, you can see it, you can touch it, and also you can taste it as well. And with earth, you have all of the previous ones, plus you can also smell it as well. So within earth, that contains everything, contains all the senses, all the sense objects. And it's the most complete, you could say, of the gross elements. So this is all really important and interesting information, but behind it we have a problem. The problem is, I think that's what I am. I look at it and I think, that's me, but actually, that's not who I am. If I cut off my arm and I put it to the other side of the room, am I that arm? Is my consciousness in that arm? No. So that means my consciousness is something separate from the material body. It's something separate from the material elements. Actually, what we are is transcendental to matter. But as long as we're continuing to believe that we're this material body, then we'll also continue to try and dominate the world around us. And therefore, this material situation doesn't stop, it keeps on going. Just like a dream that keeps on going. In a dream, we kind of face all kinds of difficulties and disadvantages and all kinds of things that go wrong, and we perceive that to be an everlasting situation, but it's not. The Samkhya Yoga is useful because it breaks down what we would usually consider to be a solid reality, an unshakable reality, but it kind of breaks it down into parts and then helps us to see that we're not actually part of that, we're actually an observer to those parts. Like, there's the material elements, here's me perceiving it, and there's some difference there. If I can perceive myself as different to the material elements, if I perceive myself as different to this material body, then I can let go of my sense of possessiveness, which is actually what's keeping me locked to this material atmosphere. Oh, actually this has nothing to do with me. Why am I hanging on to it? Might as well let it go. Or instead let me use it in a detached way to serve the Supreme.